Welcome to Truth, Wellness, and Psychic Adventures. I'm Kristin. As always, with me is my friend Polly. Polly, how are you?
Oh my God, I'm so good. And I'm not needing a nap today, but I'm so good. But I have a question.
Yes, Queen.
What's in that bag by your feet and your lovely friend's feet?
Oh my gosh, my bag of tricks. Well, as you know, I work at a Pilates studio, so the bag actually says Pilates on one of the sides. And then I just throw everything in. I've got my iPad, a pair of grip socks, because you don't want to be
Oh,
stuck at the Pilates studio without a pair of grip socks, because then you'll have to
wow.
buy another pair. I know, I'm the owner.
True.
That's how we work things. And I have some a spiral, a pen. That's about it. I had some water in there, and it's a very oversized bag for very few things. But does
But
that
you came prepared
you know what?
and you brought a good friend who I'm
I
so
did.
excited to learn more about.
Yay! Polly, this is my friend Grace. She is, well, initially my acupuncturist, and then we grew into great friends. So I want you to meet her. Grace, this is my friend Polly.
Hi, Polly. Nice to meet you. I'm
Hi,
Grace.
Grace. I have so many questions because I think acupuncture is so fun, but I have so many questions about it.
All right,
I'm sure you'll
shoot
be able
away.
to help. Can I really start firing out the
Do it.
Yes,
questions?
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, so I can't say how many sessions I've had, but quite a few. But you know how it kind of puts you in a trance, like in a trance.
Yes.
Well, in a very relaxed. Some people cry. But one time was wild. They put a little, like a short needle in and left it there.
What body part?
And it was on my arm or wrist or
Uh
something,
huh.
but it was really crazy because it was like on my, because I had an older brother that committed suicide, and it was on this on the week on the anniversary of his death. I mean, it happened years ago, but she put it in that point, like a
So is
what
was
a
that the little crease
yeah,
of the wrist a little bit? Yeah.
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 And it was very intense. Like I ended up writing about it, but it was very intense. Like what it, like the way, like it released, and like it was
Yes.
a blog all about the suicide and stuff, but super intense. It was
Yes.
very cool.
So that point is called lung 7. So in Chinese medicine, that is used for when somebody's going through grief, sorrow, sadness, loss. And the reason why the lungs govern the emotion of sorrow and grief and sadness. And so that point is given to somebody who is experiencing like any of those feelings intensely so that they could process it better. We don't eliminate those feelings. It's just gives the person a way to process and move through it in a healthy way, as opposed to just because there's a lot of people when they go through grief and loss, they try to shut themselves off from those emotions,
Mhm.
which creates a lot of illness,
Yeah.
or they are so lost in that emotion that they can't like dig themselves out of it. So it's a way to help process them.
Polly, did you tell your acupuncturist you were dealing with grief and
No, I didn't. Well, I was, but I went in there because the grief of my marriage was unraveling.
Mm,
It was a few years ago, and it was a slow unravel.
okay.
But it, maybe that was like the what's the precipitous of it.
Y-
Yeah.
And so it was a few years ago. But anyhow, so I went in there talking about that because I
Mhm.
wanted to help release the grief of that marriage ending. And seriously, it was a long, I bet 4 years ago. Isn't that crazy?
Dude, 4
And
years?
yeah, I know. So it's been such a process of letting go and healing, right? And
Mhm.
now we're friends. But so I went in there for that, but just happenstance was on the death of my brother's
Mhm.
Yes.
anniversary of his death.
Mm.
So then acupuncture, you gotta be able to ask the right questions, and the patient has to be able and be comfortable to tell you certain things.
Yes. So the great thing about acupuncture is that the physical symptoms also tell us what emotions you may be experiencing at the same time. So all the major organ systems in Chinese medicine holds they govern an emotion.
Okay.
Um, But they also have other symptoms. Like, for instance, liver is a huge organ that we treat a lot of the times
In my
because,
last treatment,
yes,
it was the liver.
because it has
So
to,
I feel seen.
yes. So the emotions that the liver governs is anger. So anger, when
Interesting.
healthy, creates change.
Okay.
So all emotions are considered to be healthy
Mhm.
when it is healthy, but when it is um, out of imbalance, or it's in imbalance, or it's out of control, then a lot of other things happen, like rage, destruction.
Mhm.
Um, but other symptoms are like, I have a headache in my temples. I can't sleep.
Mhm.
And then I wake up from 1 to 3, which is the time of the liver. Like those things, even if you didn't tell me you were having anger issues, just telling me all these other symptoms of a dysfunctioning liver
Mhm.
system will tell me, are you also irritable?
Yeah. Because I always feel like I'm fascinated with how you diagnose me and what form of treatment path you know that I need, because you are always spot on. But I will go in, you'll ask me a few questions, which, how is are you regular? How's your sleep? Are you stressed? Which we always laugh at that because I have 3 teenagers and own a business and, I'm in perimenopause. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a little bit friggin' stressed. That's what we call Tuesday.
Yes.
And then you check my pulse and look under my tongue, and then you know exactly what my issue is, which is fascinating to me. So I always tell Polly, like, I don't know, man, I think she's like some sort of medical medium. She's rolling with heavy, heavy intuition here too. So when you treat it, and you are very knowledgeable, like you're very well researched,
Thank
very
you.
well educated, very well practiced, but how much intuition goes into your diagnosis and treatment?
So a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but I guess the way I view intuition is very different as well. It's not just
Okay.
like a feeling, which it is,
Mhm.
but it's also being aware and observant. So this is a lot of things that people are not very strong at, is observance or listening or even empathy. And then when you roll those three into one, it feels like, oh my gosh, she read my mind. But a lot of the times it's like, I even pay attention to small reactions to the questions that I ask, or the small pauses that you have. Then I go, oh, I need to dig in deeper
Mhm.
into that. And so um, I think that's where a lot of medicine has also fallen too, is that observation, like, and we're talking like hyper observation, has gone to the wayside where we don't pay attention anymore. Because, and I don't blame the doctors, because the insurance companies have made it so that they can't. I
Got it.
mean, I see doctors who are scheduled out every 10 minutes to see a patient.
Jeez.
And so when you see a good doctor, they will be late because they are going past their scheduled time.
Mhm.
And so um I if they're a good doctor, I don't mind waiting an hour, 2 hours, cuz I know that they're overbooked.
Yeah.
So, but they are trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
They are losing out on their lunches just to
Mhm.
make everybody fit. So that there's that. But most doctors, especially the newer ones, are kind of taught like, no, you have to get in there and run through these patients. And so they lack the training
Mhm.
for empathy, for observance, for
Mhm.
listening,
Yeah.
because now they're going just by data and statistics.
Ugh.
But the problem is that there's not enough data on women's health.
There is
S-
not.
so women are always left kind of floundering, trying
Mhm.
to find a diagnosis. It
Mhm.
takes, I, I think the uh, percentage was 37% of women have to wait longer to get diagnosed for the same thing than men
Just
for the same
because
amount of time. Yeah.
there's not been enough research done in our bodies yet?
Yes. So out of all the research that is out today, there's only 20% that includes women, not even based on women.
Wow, which is a tricky thing when you
Yes.
go through perimenopause, because
Yes.
not many men have done that.
Oh no. No, they sure haven't. I'd like to see
You heard
that.
it here first.
Although I think that most men are in perimenopause all the time.
Oh, Ooh, that's a whole nother rabbit hole we could go down.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I don't think that's what we're here for.
I don't think that's why we're here today.
We could go on that for a long time.
Right? Okay, and I want to know about your training because obviously you went to school at Southern. Wait, you could probably talk
I
more
went
about
to
it.
what is that school? Oh, Bastyr University
Okay.
in Seattle, Washington,
Oh, okay.
or more like Kenmore, but we call it.
Okay.
Yes.
I was going to go with the school in Whittier that does the acupuncture, chiropractic, and something else in Chinese medicine, but that's not the case. You went to
No.
school in Seattle.
Yes. So I
Okay.
actually started at a local school here,
Okay.
but as I was going, um, I was getting straight A's, but only because I knew how to answer the questions. Because the
Mm.
way that they gave the questions out was, oh, you gave us these same questions on the quizzes, you just mixed them up and put
Mm.
them in the final. So for me, I knew how to game the system, but I did
Right,
to
but you
get the
wanted a little
A.
bit more from your
But I
yeah.
was like, but I have zero confidence in how to do this.
Mhm.
And so one of the teachers that I had, she's also a psychic. She was also a part of the what was that? The Human Genome Project.
I don't know about this. Do you know about this?
I've heard of it, but I'm not. Could I rattle off the answer now?
Yeah. So I don't want to say it. So I don't want to
Gotcha.
identify her, but she's the one who was like, oh, she saw something extra in me, and she was like, you need to get out. She's a professor there, and she goes, you need to leave here and go to that other school. And
Oh, I
so
love that.
yes,
Like, that's when you know someone has integrity and they're here for the better of society.
yes,
I love that.
yes. But she was also the one who was like gave me some advice and
Mhm.
things like that. So that was helpful.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
With acupuncture, is there one for spirituality? Can you tell, like, if there's like say somebody's like having a spiritual crisis, or they come to you and they're like, oh, I want to be more intuitive or psychic or whatever. Is there an area for that?
So, some acupuncturists do work with that. I have to say that I myself do not, only because I've been warned many times in my life not to. So,
Oh, really?
Oh,
I
how
don't.
come? Like, what's the hazard?
So ever since I was a child, I was randomly told by like random old Korean grandpas and grandmas to not. They're like, don't talk to the spirits, okay, sweetie. And then I'm like, okay.
Were you doing it and they said not to, or was it just like an
No,
umbrella rule?
they just happened to sit next to me at some event or something, and they will go, oh, you know how they
Yep.
dote on children and go,
Mhm.
oh, you're such a sweet girl, and then they look at my hand and go, oh, don't do this, okay? I'm like,
Interesting. That's fascinating. What do you make of
so
that?
So, do you think that they saw something in you, like you had the potential to do it, and they were just like, we don't, don't go down that road?
yes,
Or
so Korean culture is actually based on a shamanistic belief
uh-huh.
system, but it's been kind of intermingled with the Western religions like Catholicism and the Protestantism. But shamanism is still a really big part of the Korean culture, and
I did not know that.
yeah, and so the thing they were so on the spiritual totem pole in the Korean
Mhm.
spirituality, shaman is the lowest.
Oh,
And
really?
that's the person who talks to spirits. And so they were like, don't do it because you're going to be stuck. And
Oh.
shamans in Korean culture, even though highly regarded, highly respected for their gifts, they are poor. They live a very hard life. And so I was warned, don't talk to them because if you do, you'll be stuck.
Yeah. So then in the who's above a shaman? Like what were the
I never researched that.
you were just like, "Okay, I won't
I
do
was
it,
like, I just
grandma."
won't do it.
Like easy.
Yes.
Fascinating.
But do you feel like has that affected like your if you came into this life with the ability to make some connections, and you kind of like, because you were told don't do that, so you kind of shut that down, do you think that has affected your overall landscape of life?
So I'm not sure because there were a few times when I did kind of dabble into connecting at a deeper level.
Mhm.
For instance, when I was going to that first acupuncture school, there was this woman there who wanted to teach me how to read pulses, like because we do pulse diagnosis in Chinese medicine, but we do it for the texture, the quality. But she wanted me to take pulses so that I can take in the energy of the other person, and then and then kind of be able to read um, how they're feeling,
Mhm.
and I took on to it very quickly. And then it got into this negative space where she took me to see her mentor who taught her at first. And when she was taking my pulse, something told me to kind of like try to block her.
Gotcha.
And she got mad that I was blocking her.
Oh, really?
And then I was like, "Oh, what's that about?" You know?
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Okay, well, I'm going to stay away from this weird group."
Yeah.
But like once I opened up to it though, I couldn't stop taking in other people's energies. Like one time I was at work and this my coworker came in uh to start the day, and I'm just making my coffee and I went, "Oh, did you have a fight with your wife cuz you're feeling very like um congested here. Like if you feel pissed off." And he was like he was like, "You're scaring me," and walked away.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's equal parts funny and cool and crazy.
Yeah, but every time like that happened though, I
Mhm.
felt bad that I felt like I was crossing a boundary.
Oh,
I
okay.
felt like I was being intrusive,
Mhm.
but I wasn't meaning to, but it felt very intrusive to the other person.
Mhm.
And so I kind of worked hard to block that out
Okay.
because I didn't like that feeling of
Gotcha.
making somebody else feel vulnerable
I
because that's
totally
the feeling
understand.
that I don't like.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, we're just gonna cut that out.
Yeah.
So so it's like things like that where I didn't have a positive experience.
Mhm.
So I've always tried to just kind of
Do you ever have a moment, like, in your day when you're connecting with someone, like, someone you love at home or someone you trust their energy, do you ever, like, drop the wall and open it up again, or are you pretty much, like, protected?
Yeah, I think I feel like ever since those experiences, I've
Mhm.
been pretty like walls, shields up.
Yeah. So Polly does these, very cool retreats, and you might remember this one, Polly. It was, our friend Chris was there. It was
Yeah.
in Sedona at Savannah? Is that the resort in
Oh, yeah,
Carefree?
but Sonata's like outside of Scottsdale, but
Oh,
yeah, it
okay.
wasn't.
Somewhere there at one of your retreats, and we were, doing just an energetic exercise
Mhm.
where you would try to read each other. So we just did it at first, and then we kind of broke it down on
Yeah.
how you have to drop your walls and everything.
Mhm.
And so Chris, like, had this it was like I couldn't get there. And then he, like, took a breath because I said, "I can't get there." And then he said he dropped his curtain, and it was like this wall of light that he puts up and functions with, and then he dropped it, and then I could feel him.
Mhm.
But it's fascinating how that's a very true thing, and it's not like you
Yes.
put up a physical wall, but just an energetic barrier is important sometimes.
Yes. So that is in an acupuncture that's called the pericardium channel. So the pericardium is an actual tissue that covers the heart.
Okay.
And that's our shield,
Mhm.
but it's also our energetic shield, right?
Mhm.
And so when a pericardium is healthy, like our boundary should be, arm's length, right?
Okay.
Nice and arm's length.
Mhm.
Somebody with a pericardium that's too in excess is too strong. Like it's not just a far beyond their arm's reach, but it's also all the way up to the sky, and they have very little affect. You can't read them
Mm.
whatsoever. They have no emotions
Mhm.
running through their face. Even when they say "I'm happy," they're like "I'm happy."
Oh,
I'm
geez.
like, "All right."
Sure you are.
um,
Calm down there, Trigger.
yes, and like I'm happy. I'm like my face comes with subtitles, so like
It
meeting
does.
somebody
It does.
with meeting somebody without them is like,
Yes.
yeah. Um, but somebody with a pericardium that's unhealthy and too weak,
Mhm.
they're literally letting they're messy.
Okay, so do you do any kind of daily, like, meditative practice where you purposefully put a wall up or you connect with anything or prayer or anything that you do like on the daily to kind of center yourself and get going?
I guess the thing I do daily is positive affirmations.
Ooh. In a
Where
mirror or just talking?
No, just like oh, and actually, I consider my morning makeup ritual as my intent for the day.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's
so
a multitasking kind of
it's
gal.
kind of like a like witches like to do glamours.
Mhm.
Like it's kind of like that where I'm like I'm doing this makeup to put this image out into the world, this
Hmm.
energy. So that's how. And I think makeup is magic because there is a lot of intent
Mhm.
that women don't know that they do.
Mhm.
Because depending on how you do your makeup, you change the vibe of yourself
I would
and
agree.
to others.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of, but as I'm driving to work, I'm also telling myself, this is going to be a good day. You're going to help a lot of people. Your patients are going to leave happy and healthy. And like
Mhm.
that's something I repeat over and over again.
Mhm.
And if I don't have the mental energy, because my son was kicking me in the head all night
With love.
with love.
Mhm.
I love a little tiny foot in my face.
Who doesn't?
um, then I have a playlist of like upbeat
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
So and then which also gets me like going. So I find little ways to get that done.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't always have, like I said, the capability.
Yes,
I am
understood.
not mindful or demure every day.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I am chaotic and messy most days.
What about mental health, mental slash emotional wellness? Do people come to acupuncture
Yes.
for, okay, and what organ is associated with that?
So it depends. It depends on the
Like
person.
anxiety. I mean, anxiety is prevalent. Like, what organs associated with
So
anxiety?
a lot of people, I think, use anxiety as like, oh, I'm just so anxious. But I have to ask the patient, like, well, how does your anxiety present itself? Are you having palpitations, shortness of breath? Are you feeling irritable? Are you feeling like what are the symptoms? And depending on those symptoms, I will treat a different organ system. But I do also give stress treatments in a community room setting. Um, in my practice for people who just want to relieve stress, but it's
Like a
called.
group of people?
It could be up to 3 people can be in the
Oh,
room.
cool.
So and I made it very cheap so that they
Mhm.
and it's no talking. It's literally the same set of needles in each ear, and I have like these nice gravity chairs, and they just sit and chill out for 20 to 30 minutes of their choosing,
Yeah.
and I needle them and then leave. And so, this protocol was made for people with PTSD, drug addictions,
Mm.
and trauma.
Mhm.
Uh, but I use it as like, why can't it be used as just everyday stress? Because I think a lot of people are just at a high level of stress all the time.
Yeah.
That even having this, even if they don't view themselves as having trauma, it does help them quite a bit.
Yeah.
So like the points are sympathetic nervous system, shenmen, which means spirit gate. So there is a spirituality to acupuncture inherently. So even though I don't purposefully treat or work with the spirituality of somebody,
Mhm.
it is part uh, of the treatments inherently. And I think that's why Chinese medicine is so great because they don't just view the mental, physical, but also the energetics and the spirituality of the person is part of that imbalance. Um, and so the other 3 points are kidney, liver, and lung. So the kidneys are associated with fear, liver is associated with anger, and lungs are associated with sadness. So when you balance those three emotions out, it really helps to settle the mental state of the person.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you, when you had, so you have a toddler, you said,
Yes.
at home. So when you were in labor, did you use any acupuncture?
Ooh, good question.
Oh, this is a loaded question for me. So I actually couldn't get into labor. So I previously had a robotic myomectomy to remove a very large 7 centimeter fibroid,
Oh, that's
Wow.
along with other sizable fibroids.
okay.
So my uterus had a long scar,
Gotcha.
and so they didn't want me to contract ever because I could bleed out and
Oh,
things like that. So
Yeah.
we had to do a planned C-section.
okay. Did you know
Um,
this right out of the gate?
yes, right
Okay.
out of the gate. So, and that was the other thing. It was like the I also had a surgeon to talk to because I still had more fibroids after that. That was
Oh.
crazy.
Mm.
I was just growing them like grapes,
Wow.
large
So did
grapes.
they help you, like, did you use acupuncture to get pregnant since you had a history of fibroids?
Yes. So we had both male and female infertility issues.
Mhm.
And so our chances of getting pregnant were very low, like in single digits.
Mm.
But I treated both of us and we tried for a few months and got pregnant. So that
Wow.
was,
That is
yeah,
amazing.
that was lucky. Yeah.
Actually, you know what? There, um, when I lived in Anchorage, I now remember there used to be some acupuncturists that I referred people to that were trying to get pregnant.
Hmm.
I just remember that now that we're talking.
That's amazing. So you treated
Yeah.
yourself and him. In
Yes.
a couple months, you
Yep.
have a little gift.
Yes. So but it was at a really weird time of our lives
Mhm.
for the world.
Okay.
We got pregnant in 2020.
Yes. Why not?
Yeah.
Nothing else to do.
Yeah. It was um but yeah, so I had a difficult pregnancy due to the fibroids
Okay.
because I had a fibroid that was dying inside of me after the growth of the
Oh,
baby.
Oh.
The baby takes away the blood
Mhm.
circulation from the blood supply from the fibroid, and the fibroid starts dying off, and then creates a lot of pain.
Oh, man.
Cause and so like that, it was what I call a a curse that came with a gift.
Oh, there you go. I kinda like that spin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it wasn't just that I had my son,
Mhm.
who I love dearly, um, but that caused me to leave my current job at the time. That was actually very toxic workplace,
Okay.
and I didn't realize I was getting sick there, due to how toxic it was until I left. And so,
Toxic, like dirty or like icky
no, oh, it
energy?
was it was icky, like it was clean,
Okay.
physically.
Mm.
Icky energy. Like the interpersonal relationship in that clinic was
Mhm.
terrible.
Oh.
Um, and the client, a lot of the patients that were brought into that clinic
Mhm.
was not what I vibe with all the
Okay.
time. So, for instance, in that clinic, the doctors would meet the patients and then they would recommend a certain acupuncturist to go to.
Oh.
But the problem was, because I am able to deal with more difficult patients,
Oh.
I always got the difficult patient.
Mhm.
And so I was always at like a high level of stress
Yeah.
because I was not knowing what this patient was going to come up
Yeah.
with.
And also
How are
who's
they,
gonna come
yeah, who's
next?
going to
Like,
come
who's on the next
next?
waiting
Yeah.
room? Yeah. Oh, that's tough.
Yeah. The doctor one time even complained, it's like, why are all your patients crazy, Grace? I'm like, I don't know. Who keeps referring them to me? And he
Yes.
goes, oh, right. And he ran away.
Oh. Of course.
Yeah, but that's how toxic it was. He was blaming me on the
Yeah.
offset.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay, yeah, that is pretty toxic.
Yes. And that's the least of it.
Okay.
So,
So then you left there during 2020? Like, they closed down or
so I had to be on disability,
Okay.
and then I was slowly fired.
Mm.
Is
Which
what
is
I'm
a
gonna say.
blessing, it
It
sounds
was a
like.
quiet fire,
Ah,
um, where I did voluntarily quit, but it was a quiet firing.
gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I've never been without a job ever
Oh, wow.
for that, and so I was like, well, that's good. I'm spending the first year of my son's life with
Mhm.
him like 24/7. Um,
That's not easy.
no. And then I think it was 2022. my friend goes, "Hey, do you want to work for somebody else or do you want to open your own clinic?" And she said, and I was like, "Sure, why not?" Um, Thinking about it, I'm like, I should have taken some more time because I was raising a toddler and a business at the same time.
Right.
That was a bit much. Yeah.
You don't know until afterwards, like
Yeah, no. But I did learn that even though it was financially harder,
Mhm.
because I'm not used to instability in my life. I
Gotcha.
I work very hard to have very predictable
Mm.
life.
Mhm.
So that was very new. But but I realized I had less financially, but I had more peace.
Oh, interesting.
Mhm.
Yep.
So
That's a lesson.
yes. So I had so much more peace in my life
Mhm.
than I ever had. And so I was like, great, this is going to work out for me.
Mhm. Oh, I like that.
So back to the C-section, did you do acupuncture preparing you for the surgery so you would recover well?
Yes. So surprisingly to the nurses and the doctors, after the C-section, I did not need a pad.
What?
I didn't
Oh,
bleed
wow.
after. Yeah.
That's amazing.
That is wild.
Yeah, I was expecting because everybody kept telling me, "Oh yeah, like
Yeah.
it's gonna be crazy down there."
Mhm. Yes.
Like even Ali Wong was talking about the craziness that.
Yes. And I love that term.
Yeah.
And you didn't.
No, I didn't. And so when I did
Okay.
bleed, yes,
For what about like new moms, like for breastfeeding and stuff?
That's
I'm sure there's
yeah.
acupuncture for like if they have milk supply
yes,
issues. Okay.
yes.
And do
So
you
yeah,
do moms come to you for perinatal, for for that type of issue? Are you known for that?
I am, but most moms don't, due to the fact that they are so lost in the chaos of a newborn that
Mhm.
they forget that they could come to somebody, and I don't like to push that upon anybody. So I'm
Yeah.
like, so if I get a patient pregnant, I don't ever see them again until after their kids start going to school.
Yeah. Oh, isn't
But
that
what a
wild?
gift though to like match up with like some midwives or have some midwives know
Mhm.
that you have the ability to do that
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah,
would be very cool.
yes.
How much do you use like Chinese medicine, like the herbs and stuff? How much do you incorporate that in your
So I don't incorporate them
practice?
as much because I try to use as little modalities as possible. And I've been pretty successful with just acupuncture typically,
Mhm.
and I try to keep it as simple, the treatments as simple as possible,
Yeah,
because I don't like to throw the book at them and then they're feeling
yeah,
better, but to continue that treatment they have to pay for all of these add-ons,
Yeah.
and we're not
right.
even sure which one actually worked
Mhm.
the best, but I'm charging this immense amount of money. And so I try to do the minimalist approach, go with acupuncture, and then I start building up to like moxa, electroacupuncture, or herbs,
Mhm.
things like that. But first, I try to give them self care tools like, hey, you should get magnesium, you should get this massager for this particular
Yeah.
issue, you should try doing these exercises first. If that doesn't work, then I'll go, hey, why don't we try adding on, massage or cupping, or, but, and so herbs tends to be the last because most of my patients are on some kind of medication as well. And I don't want to
Mhm.
mix the two all that often. But when I do give herbs, it does help.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's rare that I get to that point though.
What I like about your treatments is and of course, maybe I'm not a normal patient. I'm very involved, and I'll do whatever you say, and I wanna go the extra mile, like, I'm committed. But you will tell me, like, I needed that ginger,
Hmm.
the powdered ginger, and I could
Yes.
put it in my
And
cold or my warm
yeah.
stuff, and I think that was I don't remember what we were treating in me on that one, but, I think I was cold or some temperature
Yes.
thing.
Hmm.
And then it was,
She had a lot of wind exposure.
yes. Yep. And then I had to wear a scarf, and it helped. It was like these little things that helped. Like I wore the and I went to the salt room and just wore the little
Yes.
scarf around. And then the last thing you did was, when I went in, I had some liver issues, and it was chrysanthemum tea.
Mhm.
So I ordered that immediately, just off Amazon. We're not being sponsored by chrysanthemum
No.
tea, just so you know. That wasn't a plug. And it worked. Like, immediately, I felt what I knew was working is she mentioned this earlier, is if you're awake between 1 and 3 AM, that's your time where your liver gets to do its healing and reset and rest. And I was waking up between those 2 hours. So I then knew, like, oh, my liver is not having a moment. So then when the liver doesn't, the gallbladder overworks. I was paying attention.
Yes.
So then I got the
Okay.
chrysanthemum tea, and I'm not kidding. In like 3 days, I was sleeping through that magic hour of the 1 to 3. I wasn't waking up during then. So
Okay, Kristen, I
yes.
have a question for you. So, liver's associated with anger, per what we learned earlier on. Did you take a pause and be like, why am I pissed?
Um, what do you think? No, I turned it more like I was determined. I turned the anger into being like I was probably just really focused and determined. And maybe I was angry that things weren't happening. I had some very specific things I wanted to happen, and I love it when things move quickly and smoothly on my path that I've predetermined. And when they don't, then I kind of get a little angry. So I think that it was me just getting frustrated that shit wasn't moving in the direction I wanted it to as fast as I wanted it to.
Yeah. But Grace, do you ask people, like, if somebody like Kristen comes in off the street, she's got
Off
liver
the street.
issues, do you ask, like, why are you angry, or where's this anger coming from? Is it from past? Is it current?
So I guess that's where the intuition part plays in. Sometimes I'm able to guess really well.
Yes, this is why I was saying
That's
Holly, I
where
think she's a medical medium because she will know, like, right out of the gate.
like something tell it's like I do catch myself once in a while saying something off the cuff, and then the patient will have like a
Mhm,
how did you know? And I'm like, I didn't. I was just asking.
mhm.
Something told me to ask you, and I asked.
So I
But
had a
it's so powerful for somebody, if they come in to get treated, to ask, to ask themselves, like, where is this coming from? Right?
yeah,
Because it's obviously something going on in their life.
Yes.
So you're getting it treated, but you also want to be aware of what's the onset. So it's
Yes.
so powerful, right? To have that pause and ask yourself, where is this coming from? I mean, it could be from childhood, it could be from last Tuesday, who knows?
Yes. So there are times. So when I Kristen will know when I ask about stress, it's not just oh where's your stress at. It doesn't end there. I go what's your main source of stress, and then the patient will tell me. And if the answer is a little vague, I'll dig in a little deeper. Like yeah, like what's happening at work? What's is it the financial aspect? Is it resentment? Is it, like is it interpersonal? Like what's going on at work? Is it something that we can work on to uh remedy the situation, or is it something you're stuck with? Like it's those
mhm,
kinds of things, and then it forces the patient to think more on why work is stressing them out, for instance, and then they have to kind of come to terms with it. And a lot of the times a lot of women don't know that they are stressed.
yeah.
They're in denial.
Or they just think that's how I am.
Yes. That's just how I am, Grace.
Yeah.
And or they'll tell me for the whole hour, the initial visit, "Oh, I'm not it's like, "Oh my gosh, this is happening in my life and that is happening in my life," and they'll go on and on and on. And then I get to the stress question, it's like, "Oh, I don't have stress."
And you're like, "Well, I'm stressed out just hearing
It's
about
like
what
a
you're
2
going."
out of 10. And then I go, "Oh, really?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's life's life." Or, and that's an excuse a lot of women make for
Yeah,
themselves so that they could deal with the situation.
for sure.
But then I'll have to re-explain or explain what I mean by stress. And
Mhm.
I'll go, stress doesn't have to be an emotional reaction. You don't have to because a lot of women go, well, I haven't lost my mind, or I'm not acting erratically, so I
Mhm.
guess my stress is low.
Right.
And I'll go, no, it doesn't have to be, because you could be holding it in and you're great at it, but that doesn't mean you're not stressed. And I would paint a picture of like, it has to do with your plate. How full is your plate? Does it overflow? You know, and like, do you feel burdened, or do you feel like This is easy and
Mhm.
I could get through it. And I'm like, that's stress. I was
Mhm.
like, even good stress could cause you stress. Like, for instance, planning for a vacation that you've been looking forward to. It's a good thing that you're planning for, but
Right.
it's still stressful.
Yeah.
So,
That's true, and I have to say, your bedside manner is such that I always feel like you're very, um, thorough in the questions you ask, but not intrusive. Like, I never feel like you're asking like, you're never judgy, and you're never, like, asking too many questions, and you're never, like, second guessing me. It always just feels like an easy conversation about, like, let's get to the bed with the needles.
oh, thank you.
That was meant to be a compliment. I don't know how
No,
else
I
to
take it.
say
I
it.
take
Okay.
it as thanks.
Okay, so for the listeners who are completely like, what the heck is this acupuncture? Let's whip it back and give a simple or complex definition on what is acupuncture?
That's a harder question than you
I
think.
know, because if I was going to define it, because I did just have this conversation with my husband and my kids, like, what do you do there? Needles in you? Like, they're picturing just a big needle stabbed in me. Not the case. I feel like there's meridians in the body, and that's where energy flows. And Polly and I talk a lot about chakras, also very energetic, flowing like centers. And sometimes they get blocked, either with a physical injury, an emotional injury, like something gets stuck there.
Mhm.
And so I always feel like when you press acupressure or poke me with a needle, like maybe it like jars me. That's happened before. Or
Yes.
sometimes I don't even feel the needles,
Mhm.
but I always feel like it just opens up that energetic pathway. Like blood flows, lymph flows, and then these energy
Mhm.
like flows. So that's kind of how I was trying to explain it to them.
Yes.
I don't know that it was a good definition or that they even received it, but
So there's two analogies. Well, there's a lot of analogies I use, depending on the person.
okay.
So, uh, in the case of pain, for instance, so if we were to imagine a regular working water hose,
Okay.
a healthy, a good hose is just going to spray out the right amount of water pressure and just it flows just really well. When there is an excess, um, which we mean like a blockage causing pain,
Okay.
like a scar tissue or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
then it's like having a bend in the hose. And so nothing comes out. And then it just creates pressure elsewhere, creating more pain until we unbend the hose and the water flows out and then you feel better. Or it could be an deficiency where there is a hole in the hose. So the water pressure is weak. It's still flowing out, but it's not flowing out well. And so it still requires more work. And so it creates more friction and more pain anyway. So with the needles, I try to find, is it at first, is it an excess or is it a deficiency? Are we here because there's too much of something or is there not enough of something? And then I use whatever meridians or channels that is affected and I open or close up that area or
Okay.
boost it up. So that's one way to view it.
Okay.
Another way is to view it as a circuit board.
Hmm.
You know, if there was like a circuit board and there's a light bulb, that's one channel, but that light is not lighting up for
Mhm.
some reason. And I could usually tell that by looking at your tongue or your pulse. And I'll go, oh, it was, is something on top of it, so of the circuit, so it's not working, or has it been cut? Do I have to reconnect it? It's a lot of that.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Okay, those are better ways to
yeah.
describe acupuncture than I did. So now I know. A learning opportunity for me.
Yeah, that's super easy to
Oh,
understand. I
oh,
love that. Maybe we should have started with that.
yeah.
You know, I feel like we were really excited, and there's no shame in circling back.
No, acupuncture is such a great modality. I mean, it's a lovely modality. Okay, Kristen, when, because I have no idea the timing, but when do we do the rapid fire
I
questions?
feel like we should do it now. So
Oh, good.
this is arguably my favorite part of our podcast,
Okay.
where we do a little rapid fire with the guest. Polly is going to hit you with some words, and then you just say yes or no, or whatever else comes to mind. And then the next part is she'll give you 2 choices and you have to choose one.
Oh, okay.
And then it's rapid. So we'll just see how fast this goes.
Okay, are you ready, Grace?
No, but let's go.
Okay, so this is the yes or no. Botox.
No.
Rapid.
No.
Okay. Ouija board.
No.
Seance.
No.
Pedicure.
No.
Organic veggies.
No.
Kickboxing.
Yes.
Trampoline.
Yes.
Skydiving.
Yes.
So interesting.
I know. I couldn't have predicted those.
No, that's so interesting.
And you think you know someone.
Well, we could predict the seance and the Ouija board for sure.
Yes.
Mhm.
We could probably predict the Botox because she probably doesn't want things affecting, injections.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So now this is like yes or no.
Or you
And
choose
again,
one.
rapid fire. Yeah. No. And again, there's no wrong answer. Sauna or cold plunge?
Sauna.
Tequila or espresso?
Espresso.
Pilates or yoga?
Pilates.
Yes.
Walk or run?
Walk.
Saints or Rams?
I'm sorry?
Saints or
Where
Rams?
the hell did that
Saints
come
or
from?
Rams?
Mhm.
Oh. Is that a sport?
Yes. It was a football reference.
Oh, Rams?
Okay.
That's so funny. Kristen, how did you get that? Like, were you hanging out with your husband?
Well, I was like, I had like a New Orleans flair with you, like a Louisiana situation. So I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if she likes the Saints.
I don't like any sports.
Turns out, no, she doesn't. So now we know.
I know. It's not like I dislike any sports.
You're just
I'm
not
just
into 'em.
not a. I don't get
Same.
hyped up over
Mhm.
team sports. Like when they say we won, I'm like, they won.
Right. What'd you do?
What'd you do?
Okay. Oceans or mountains? Ocean or
Oceans.
mountains? Okay. Stay up late or early bedtime?
Stay up late.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
God, I can't even say this. Botox or the gua whatever that is.
Gua sha.
Yeah. Okay. Freeway or side streets?
Side streets.
There we go.
All right.
Now we know everything about you.
I know. So much was revealed.
Oh, was it?
We'll analyze that and break it
Okay.
down.
All right. Yeah. Let's do it.
So fun.
Grace is actually doing, our community the city hosts a women's conference every year. And so Grace is actually speaking at it next month.
Yes.
Oh, very cool.
Yes. So I get to go and listen to her speak. Do you know what topic you're going to be talking on?
Wait,
Yes.
what city? You got to give more detail. Share the city.
Los Alamitos, California. In fact, this is a good segue. I'm going to have you kind of chit chat. You can answer that question, obviously, but then let the listeners know like where they can find out more about you, website, Instagram, and all the things where they can follow you and connect outside of the podcast here.
Okay, so I think they have my Instagram handle already, BT Acupuncture. But my website is bt-wellness.com. You could see my blog there, which I'm not very good at updating.
Yes.
But I'm not very good at updating my Instagram either. That's a whole nother.
Well, because you're busy with patients. You're busy
Yes.
making the world a better place.
But it's also where you can find out what my services are and
Mhm.
also schedule. My appointment scheduling system, I think, is very easy,
Very
which
easy.
I find very convenient. You can find out a little bit more about myself. I have a blurb about myself there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, then what are you speaking on at the women's conference?
Bridging the gaps in women's health with acupuncture.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like you could speak very easily on that just based on what we have discussed the last
Yes.
hour. Yeah.
Yeah, I
For
feel like
sure.
it's like a soapbox I've been on for a while.
Mhm. Oh, yeah. Well, we need to be, actually.
Yes,
for sure.
absolutely.
All right, Polly, where can we find out more about you? And I'll put this in the notes
you
of the
can-
podcast as well.
You can find out more about me at my website, which is pollywyron.com. You can read my blogs on your Tango or on my website. And then I have an article monthly in the lovely Eden magazine. And just for listeners, because this is relatively new for me, am no longer working. I no longer take clients as a psychic or a coach, which I did for 15 years and worked very hard to build my business. But that is done. It's really just writing. I'll do retreats. If I'm invited to go speak somewhere, but I'm no longer doing the one-on-ones. I am doing monthly classes still, like so once a month I do. But
Can they register for your classes on your website?
yeah, they need to email me.
Okay.
Like basically everything right now, it's impossible for anybody to make a payment on my website. I did that on purpose because otherwise people will make a payment and expect service.
As the American market goes.
And so I have my lovely assistant remove all possibilities of making a payment.
Understood. Okay. Very good. So they need to email you, polly@pollywyram.com.
Well, if they go to my website, they can just contact me through my website.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then you can find out more about me at Garage Pilates on Instagram or garagepilates.net. And Polly and I have this podcast, which is on Instagram, truth.wellness.psychic. So all this is going to be in the podcast notes. And I am so thankful that you came in, Grace. This was super fun. This has been a long time coming. Polly, always a pleasure.
So exciting. And Kristin has been talking about this. I mean, about how she loves acupuncture for so long. And it's such a great modality. And I'm sure like I should go see you when I visit Kristin next time.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. We'll make that happen. Grace and I first met, like we're doing this all out of order, but Grace and I first met. Do you remember this? You sent me an email?
Yes.
Like she was new to the community and I obviously own Garage Pilates and I'm on the Chamber of Commerce. And she just sent me an introduction email and offered me a complimentary service to connect. And this was 2022. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so we send clients back and forth and we try to participate as much as we can in community events, but that can become taxing.
Yes, it can be. But I feel like that's Los Alamitos makes it a little easier though.
Yeah.
To make a community though.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I would agree. Yeah. So that's how we first met.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And here you are.
Yes.
The movers and shakers of the community, and you're going to speak.
That's right. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Polly. We will see you later. We are out.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.